Chicago.
If I'm talking right here, do I sound okay?
You're great, I think, at this point.
Yep.
Oh, I probably just moved away from the microphone.
You motherfucker.
I know. I did change my setup a little bit, so if I sound different, that's why. But just minor stuff as I learn.
Always tweaking your shit.
Mm-hmm. I'm in the middle of wrapping an album that I've been doing in my garage, and it's dope, I think. But I've also been like, I shouldn't have been doing things this way forever. You know, the usual. Ben, did you tweet?
Not yet. I got to get the.
Oh
the link.
Lord, Colin, how's your setup going?
Seems to be slightly better, or at least okay for now.
Knock on wood, motherfucker.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, you're gonna have to limit those pregnant pauses because then we're gonna think you've actually stopped.
Yeah, no promises.
You can't stop his pregnant pauses. You can only hope to contain them.
Not in some states. Oh wait, no, yes, in some states, right? How does that work? God,
Jesus, that was terrible.
Too early. I'll be here all night, Colin. Tip your waitress.
Yeah, that was a joke that certain doctors couldn't operate on in certain states.
That's not any better.
Okay, I have tweeted. Tweet.
Whoa, hold on a second. Oh my gosh. My boss just hit by a car.
Do what now?
Yeah. One of my bosses has just had a real rough go of things lately. Okay. Change to God, Facebook making this so fucking ridiculously hard. I don't get that. I get them not wanting you to log off. I get that. I don't get making it hard for you to use your page at all. Like that's to me. Come on. Get on it.
See, but you're not a meta genius, my friend.
I'm not a meta anything.
You're not a meta human?
No, I don't really like that term. I prefer mutate, right? I'm more of a Marvel guy. You're either a mutant or a mutate.
Oh,
I don't know what you're talking about, but I will just nod my head, and
that's how it works in the Marvel universe. And people are like, "How come Spider-Man isn't a mutant?" It's because he's a mutate.
You're a mutate.
Mutants were born with it. Mutates got it later. And then there's aliens and vampires and other shit. It gets real complicated real fast.
So what you're saying is maybe she's born with it, but maybe it's Maybelline?
I use that all the time, and there's a lot of people who are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Well, you're using it in the wrong company, obviously.
Yeah, the joke has an expiration date.
It's 1975.
Yeah, the ad campaign. When the ad campaign disappeared, live. Oh wait, this is wrong. Hold on. What's going on?
Nobody knows.
Live. Thanks for doing it earlier today, by the way, guys. I got a play to go to. I got to play. Okay.
Are you in the play?
No, I'm not in the play. My niece is in the play. She gets all the. I'm so proud of her because she really wants a lead role, but she doesn't get them. But she actually gets the better role. Like she doesn't realize she's getting the better role. Like she'll play the lobster in Little Mermaid. I'm like, that's the character that you want to be. That's the scenery chewer. She'll play like Timon. I'm like, that's the one you want to be. You don't want to be Simba. Like you want to be. Come on. She's like, I want to be the lead, and I'm like, no, you want to be the comic relief. This is.
It's true. Simba's fucking lame.
Terribly lame.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Why is this not working now? All of a sudden, Ben. Circling the cup. Okay, here we go. All right. You guys ready for this?
You all ready for this?
199. Okay.
What?
Because this is 199, we actually do need to plan something for 200, and we need to figure out what day we're doing it and be confident in that date.
Agree to disagree.
Suddenly got more real.
I'm just throwing that out there. Now, come on, man. 200 is a lot of podcasts. That's way too many podcasts. And we've been slowing down dramatically, and we're still at 200.
Yep.
All right.
Well, we're not following that right now.
No, we're not. All right, you guys ready?
I was born ready.
No, I don't.
I'm a mutant. not a mutate when it comes to podcasting.
No. The mutants get their powers later. God, it's like you don't even watch X-Men or some shit.
I said I was born with it, motherfucker.
I don't know. Maybe it's Maybelline. All right. Hello and welcome to Circling the Cup, San Jose Sharks podcast, episode number 199. That is right. We are closing in on 200, folks. It's going to be the event of the century, so don't be let down when nothing occurs. I'm Alex. Here with me, as always, is the Honorable Ben. What's up, Ben?
I'm already let down.
Yeah, well, that's a daily basis thing for you, I feel like. And of course, back from Sweden. Turns out that is a real place. Colin. What's up, Colin?
Most of our team are from Sweden.
That's true. We are mostly Swedish at this point. We'll see how long that lasts, though. Hey, guys, the last couple of weeks, really, since we last potted, we have seen the Sharks get streaks on both sides of the equation here. They started off by losing a whole bunch and magically getting themselves into top billing for the draft lottery.
Woo!
And then they decided to call up the youths and the AHLers, and now they're no longer in contention for that, or at least they've moved themselves back to where they were before. A lot of things to cover in this podcast. Obviously, I finally got good at rooting for them losing when they got into that, position, and now I'm all screwed up again. But within this week, we saw a couple of things. One, we saw Eklund come up and then go back down and then get injured. We saw Thrun come in. We've seen Gushin come in. Couple of other AHLers who aren't really going to have a future place on the team, but have earned the opportunity in the Sharks' mind to kind of come up and get a quick look. But I think with us, the three that we were really excited about, well, the four would have been Eklund, Bordeleau, Thrun, and Gushin. And interestingly enough, all four have more or less left a mark. But I do want to call one thing to attention, and this isn't to be a downer, Ben, but us Sharks fans, we get attached way too quick and way too easy. Now, I'm very excited to see some of these kids up. I'm very encouraged by some of what I see. I also recognize it's a small sample size. Also worth recognizing that this is somewhat typical of teams that are in the basement. Towards the end of the season, when they do give those kids those opportunities, they are, giving it their all, playing their heart out to try to crack that roster for next season. It doesn't necessarily mean that they can maintain it for the long run. Now, I'm not saying these Sharks players can't. I'm actually very encouraged by these Sharks. In fact, actually, you know what? What I wanted to bring up? Do you think, this is the first question of this podcast, do you guys think that for Noah Gregor to be the player we need him to be, Bordeleau just has to be somewhere in the building? Is that how that works? Because Gregor, who I enjoy, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. All of a sudden, you put Bordeleau on the bench and he gets a hat trick. Now, I don't know what to make of that. I'm just saying.
Arizona is what I make of that.
I'm just
Arizona and needing a paycheck next season.
Well, can we all start this? I gotta be honest with you. Those Arizona threads that they were wearing yesterday, I don't like word mark sweaters, but the pattern and the cactus on the pant and the colors, kind of into it. They got to go to that full time. That's a fugly look. That's going to be, you wait. That is going to be, Colin, you've talked multiple times about the old Canucks stuff that you like, where it's fugly, but like perfect. That's what that is.
Can somebody explain to me, though, why they have a triple dildo on their shorts?
Well, right. That's a cactus, depending on how you look at things. And also, it wouldn't be triple because there's one going down. It would be quadruple, just depending on which angle you were looking at.
Well,
this is how bad Sharks hockey is. We're talking about pants.
It's the best look Arizona has, and this isn't even an Arizona podcast. Okay, so hold on. So let's hop all the way back because I took us on a terrible hole.
You did.
Okay, so Sharks had edged themselves into last place, and mind you, this was with Eklund on the roster there. How are you guys feeling as they sort of made a descent? And what were you sort of thinking about Eklund and his game as we got to see it in that short run?
I didn't want to see the kids come up because for everything that you're saying, they're going to come up with energy and drive and gumption, and they're going to want to win the day. It's like, no, we don't need that right now. You know what? That's great. It would have been fun to see you in the fall, but just keep them in the shelf. So
There's a little bit of irony, I think, in the organization feeling that they need to keep the kids down, especially after we saw sort of some of what they were capable of, at least Eklund and Bordeleau last season. Like like Eklund maybe didn't have the exact start that we were hoping for. It wasn't bad or anything. It just wasn't as complete as I think the Sharks wanted. But Bordeleau came in and was an immediate shock to the system, and a positive shock. So to have the kids come up and it turns out they can play at this level.
Shocker.
Yeah, I know. Teeing it up for you, Ben. Winding you up over there. But that's it. There's a little bit of a validation, I think, going on a little bit here.
But how is it validation? Sure, we get to be like, yay, that obvious thing is true. But
well, hold on, Colin. It's not obvious to people like the head coach and the general manager of the San Jose Sharks, or 80% of the fan base. So
yeah, although let me throw this out there though, because I don't mean to be a heavy Quinn defender necessarily, but I've been saying for quite a while there are a lot of Sharks fans that looked at the New York Rangers situation and immediately said that Quinn hates youth, and my take on that has never been that. My take has been Quinn, for some reason, changes his game at the NHL level, and he said it a couple of times in interviews where he just feels like it requires a different, it's a different level, requires a different level of how you operate. But you're also talking about a guy who has dealt with youth the vast majority of his career, and he has no qualms playing Thrun. In fact, he said, jokingly, he's got that dry sense of humor that he'd basically play him until the wheels fell off. So I don't necessarily know. I don't know why Quinn feels the need to sort of change how he operates between the levels. I mean, I do. He's
a bad coach.
Yeah, but it's dumb because he's clearly capable of coaching and developing youth, and he clearly right now is in a situation where that is what the Sharks really need from him. Even if you look at him as an interim coach, I would say the one thing that I want in that interim is him working to really develop the youth. And if that youth is trapped at the AHL level, there's not a lot he can do. And if part of it is his fault for not wanting them up, or to be honest, I don't really get the sense that Quinn has much of a say in terms of who's coming up and going down to begin with. It seems to be pretty clear to me from interviews that that's a decision made around him. But then he needs to play them when they come up.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like he is, but
he is now.
I'll say he's well. I mean, I think what I would say to that is you haven't seen except for with LeBanc. You haven't seen guys come up to just sit. I mean, and not that LeBanc came up, but what we saw under Buffner is that guys would basically come up and then just never get a chance to actually play. And I guess though there was a little bit of that with Gregor earlier in the season, where Gregor probably should have been playing but was just sitting, but they couldn't send him down because he couldn't. He would have been plucked on waivers. So I think the credit I would give to Quinn, the little bit of credit I would give to Quinn is that he doesn't seem to do that, at least. Yeah. Where they're here, they've been brought up. The GM clearly thinks they should play, but the coach is like, I don't think so. That doesn't seem right to me. So.
Yeah, he does still have a bit of a short leash, but not. I don't really think it's because of age.
It's not youth that pisses him off.
Yeah.
On its own, I think that much is clear.
Yeah. It's lackadaisical or stupid play, and then he doesn't forget
from his perspective.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but again, so Eklund came up. Mm-hmm. Now, we send Eklund back down. We knew he was only really going to be up for 9 games or whatever, the maximum that he was able to play. And we talked about it the last pod. He goes down, immediately gets injured, and is done for the season. Now the Sharks have opted to, he and his agent had made a decision to have surgery now and not just continue to play for the season, which was the correct call, just given the situation. Although a little ironic for the Sharks, who had really pushed him back down so that the Cuda could maybe, sniff the playoffs. That's good luck, especially when you're yanking everyone up now. It seems like the organization needs to figure out what it is exactly they're trying to do, because you can't say we're going to make a playoff push to get these kids experience and then pull up all the kids who are getting you there. But what did you guys make of of this version of Eklund compared to last version of Eklund? Did you guys see a big difference? Do you guys still feel like he cracks the roster next year? Where are you at?
100%. Well, I mean, hopefully full recovery on the shoulder, but 100%. Like he's not being pushed off the puck as much. He's not folding. Like he seems to just be physically present, able to be in the game more. So
Yeah.
I like it. I've been asking myself if I would have liked this season more if the Sharks had done better with the kids and been completely out of the playoff
Oh yeah,
running,
absolutely.
or done what they're doing now, even though they seem to be fucking up what they're doing now.
Yeah, the thing to keep in mind too is so if you look at the next season, because this is something that people should keep one eye on. Not to say that Sharks can't adjust.
Only one?
It. Well, yes, one eye backwards, one eye forward. Look all cross-eyed or reverse cross-eyed, I guess. Next season. Okay, Johnson. Nice to meet you. See ya. UFA. Then you've got Lorentz is an RFA. Peterson is an RFA. Criscuolo is 30, but also a UFA.
Hey, point per game, man. Point per game.
Jeff EL is a UFA.
Ugh.
Netherland is an RFA. Svechnikov is an RFA. And then you've got Reimer's a UFA. And you've got Gadjevich, who is an RFA. And the reason I bring that up is because, there's only going to be so many spots for people to come up unless the Sharks, make moves. And I would hazard a guess.
And don't forget, there's going to be a spot on that roster for Bedard. So,
well, and also, I would hazard a guess that they will pick someone up in UFA. I would assume they're going to pick a goalie up in maybe likely of all the positions in UFA. I don't think Reimer comes back. It doesn't make any sense. But there's only so many spots up here. So the question is, who's getting those spots now versus who's getting it later? My concern with Eklund has nothing to do with Eklund himself. It has to do with the fact that I think the organization is waiting for him to be like perfect for them. And I don't really think that that's realistic. In my mind, I think Eklund across the season, I think you can bring him up next year, no problem. I think you can bring up, Bordeleau might not have had the scoring touch that he initially had, last year or the same level of spark, but he looks good. Thrun looks great. Small sample size, obviously, but he's confident. He's got a good hockey IQ. You also, you basically have him next year, and then he's an RFA. So there are a couple of spots, that are already maybe getting taken up. Now, again, Sharks could get rid of Erik Karlsson, which I go back and forth on how likely I think it is to happen. That frees up a ton of salary, but you still have to have the open roster spots, right? So in your mind, based off of that, is Eklund up next year? Or do you think they try to do this thing where they keep him down and then pull him up and down?
He has to be up next year. I don't think he has anywhere to go on the CUDA next year. In fact, if he doesn't come up, if he's on the CUDA next year, you might as well just trade him because he'll never break through this roster and you're just going to waste him. So
yeah,
might as well get something for him. That's my feeling on it. And just to say, I think he showed exactly when he came up for his cup of coffee here. I think he showed exactly what the organization claimed they needed to see from him, which is that he had, grown. Right, he'd grown into his body a bit and wanted to sort of show that he'd play a physical game. By the way, I've never really got clarity. Was there a specific hit that caused this injury? Is it possible that he was carrying this injury while he was up? That the sense I got is that this was an injury that had been lingering, not that it was something new.
Oh, maybe
shut him down.
Maybe I got that incorrect. To be perfectly honest, I've followed. This is probably ironically, this is probably the year that I followed the CUDA the least. Normally, I'm paying real heavy attention to them, but I think this Shark season has just thrown me off so much that it's been hard enough to sort of get that muster the energy to watch what we have now. And I say that as a hardcore fan, obviously.
Right. Because I didn't see any like, oh, he got hit today and then, oh, we're shutting him down tomorrow. I just saw the Sharks decided that he needed to go have surgery, and it kind of came out of nowhere from my perspective. But like you, I have not been giving this team the attention that it would have gotten in the past, because it sucks.
Well, yeah, and
this is a
and
bad team.
and it's also a year. It's also a transition year. Like, there are a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons not to watch this season, and I don't mean to sound discouraging there, but if this were if you were to throw this back, right, to last year, or you were to throw it to, if Doug Wilson were, let's say, still here and still trying to work with whatever plan he had in place, yeah, I think you would have seen a lot more of the youth, and there would have been a lot more to watch. Yep. And really, up until the Meyer trade, where we had, maybe Zetterlund come in, or a couple of other smaller options, not really a lot to watch for, other than, Carlson playing out of his mind and returning to form, which is great, but the timing's off, obviously. And people talked a lot about that with the Meyer trade. People were like, oh, well, the organization did it well. Greer specifically was like, yeah, look, man, the timing's off with that kid. Like, he's not going to be the right age, which I don't agree with, but doubly so for Erik Karlsson, who honestly right now is playing us out of that draft lottery spot almost, again, single-handedly, which I'm very happy for him, because he really went through a lot of shit when he came here and got injured. And people were really rough on him. We were rough on him. It's totally fine, but
don't we me.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, like,
you can me.
But the timing, that's what it is, right? So, but I agree. They, at least from what they've been saying publicly, they were asking Eklund to do. I saw that in his game while he was up here.
Yeah.
He wasn't just going to the same position over and over again. He certainly wasn't telegraphing to the same degree, especially with the number of no-look passes he was doing. But his game did look more complete. And so I think there was a little bit of mission, I guess, accomplished in terms of what they were trying to adjust in his game, whether or not you think that was the right way to do it. Now that we've seen other guys, though, so Thrun has come in. What have your guys' thoughts on Thrun been? And again, very small sample size.
Matt Carl 2.0, baby.
No.
He's literally Matt Carl 2.0, you guys. Literally. Like, so I'm taking this from Byron Bader's projection. So his closest comp as a young player is Matt Carl. And so when the Sharks went and grabbed his rights, I was like, oh yeah, baby, because I loved Matt Carl.
Me too.
Yeah.
Joke's on you. It is great. Matt Carl. He's gonna pull off his Scooby-Doo mask, and you're gonna be like, "Oh crap, he's old."
Oh no.
Yeah, not that Matt Carl. What Matt Carl like?
It's Matt Carl 1.0. Oh god. Anyway, so yeah, I don't. Obviously, he's not going to score 2 points every game.
No, great start.
But you don't want that from a defender. You want competent consistency.
You want good defense. And then if they can score, bonus. And if they can drive offense,
all right.
That's you.
I'm not going to get into a big philosophical discussion again over your guys' outdated ways of looking at defense in the NHL and my progressive ways of looking at defense in the NHL. But
I'm not outdated with the way that I look at it. I want a guy to play solid defense and help push the offense.
You absolutely will take points from your defense every day.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't. Hold on a second here. We're not saying don't get points. We're saying you don't have to be the lead goal scorer.
No. He's explaining to us why Brent Burns is the greatest defender of all time.
Go on, there's some progressive defensive views.
Brent Burns was, up until a point in his career, well worth his terrible defense.
Yeah.
That's just true.
Yeah, but you give him credit for being a great defenseman?
No, of course not.
No, right.
Yes.
Got him.
For what the NHL decides to stupidly name their positions, he was a fucking fantastic defenseman. When you take the whole package for most of his career.
Are you so progressive?
They shouldn't be called defensemen. It's fucking stupid.
Are you so progressive? Are you so progressive that you're going to eliminate all positions?
No, no.
Go where you want.
You can have backs and you can have forwards. That's what you need.
Backwards and forwards. Backwards.
Just like the Sharks.
Well, it's because they skate backwards. That's why.
Oh, that makes sense. Colin Thrun, your thought on Thrun so far? Again, small sample size.
the times I noticed him, he was doing what he was supposed to do, and the times I didn't notice, the play seemed to be going well. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
would
small sample, and let's see how he does next season.
again. You're talking about a young kid who was thrown straight there from college hockey, and I thought,
Kinda like
confidence wise, I thought he looked great. Very promising is where I would kind of put it, and that's encouraging for
Yes.
me. And then obviously, okay. So we have had a couple of other players, but I think the only one that we really care about coming, well,
Gusher.
the other two that we really care about coming up are Gushin and Bordeleau. Okay, so the second time we've seen Bordeleau up, right? The last time was last season where he was a spark plug, certainly made Gregor do well, and again, Gregor got a hat trick. Although it's not like
Just
Bordeleau was heavy in
osmosis,
that.
that's
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, sometimes that the locker room, right? What have you guys thought about Bordeleau's stint up this time around? Again, small sample size.
Really, Bordelo's the one that makes me really question whether I would have wanted to have an entertaining season of the kids playing, where maybe they won themselves into 10th place. But versus Tankathon, because like he's such a wonderful enabler. Like it just he fills the spaces that need to be filled to move the puck in a way that helps his teammates, and it's really good. It's nice to see guys like him that are so young and make his line mates better.
Yeah, I kind of have the same feeling. Again, small sample size here, but much like last season, it just, maybe it's osmosis, Ben. It just seems that the team plays better when he's on the ice, whether or not he's directly getting the points or not. And I think part of it is, I think he's got a great IQ. He's a good skater. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but I don't think that matters. And to me, Bordeleau remains an NHL caliber player. I don't think night in and night out he's going to necessarily give you the level of consistency that the Sharks probably want from their players, but I also don't necessarily know that that's necessary or that they're going to get that anyway. So having his youth and energy, I think, is a positive. And again, you plug him there with Eklund and Thrun, and all of a sudden, like, I'm really excited to watch games again. And I'm excited to see whether that lights Zetterlund up. I'm excited to see,
we don't want that.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. We don't.
not
want
now.
that.
Not now.
Oh,
Next
yeah,
season.
sure.
Sorry.
Well,
No.
When I see Bordeleau, I don't feel they have the same game. But I remember early Pavelski days when he was just the thing making our like middle and bottom six good, and just putting Bordeleau down in like the second, third line or fourth line even. Like it makes me happy. It makes me happy thinking about that next season.
Yeah,
Well,
that's where you're absolutely right. That's where he should be. Is that's your third line center?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. He's a center. Like the Sharks forever have been trying to throw people everywhere, but and Couture said it after one of the games, and I totally agree. Like that's your center right there. Like there shouldn't need to be a question about that in my mind. That guy can anchor that line. No problem.
I mean, he did.
No
I mean, he basically created a line when he came up last year. His impact hasn't been quite the same this year, but also he's not playing with as many young players who actually benefit from.
Yeah. Well, you took part of those guys away.
Yeah.
You guys had chemistry. See ya, darling. Okay, Gushin. I know. One of us has been chomping at the bit to make Gusher jokes. Go ahead, Ben.
Hashtag Gusher. I've been doing it and been encouraged by several other in our podcasting community to make that a thing. So I'm very, very happy. Also, he was a guy I thought did enough in camp that if this team had not been clearly Team Tank, he should have been up from the beginning.
Yep.
Again, though, like here's the consequences though of actually having good players on the ice is that we're fucking ourselves out of that draft pick now. So shit.
Well, Gushin, here's the thing I'll say about last night's game, right? Which was his first game up against Coyotes. That goal he scored was a goal. That was a snipe, laser, whatever you want to call it, shot. Like placement, perfect. Speed, perfect. Like that was gorgeous.
But he showed that shooting in the preseason. Like it's the exact same
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
And like seeing it again, almost like perfect.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, what would this season have been if Carlson
No, I
had
think
had
you
a
nailed
genuine
it.
shooter to give to?
I think you nailed it, Colin. It would have been, winning just enough games to not just be out of the bottom 3, but to be basically where you were last year, picking 9th or 10th,
Yep.
which
Yep.
doesn't help this team in the long run. Now, again, I
Nope.
will never be convinced that this team has intentionally tanked, even though I don't think you could intentionally tank any better than this team was doing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I want to talk about two other players, and it's not going to be Agazino or
Chris Cuolo.
Yeah,
Chris
because
Cuolo, man,
because
come
again,
on.
those guys are getting rewarded, but they're not. Those aren't future players for us. So we saw Knyzhov come back up, right?
Yep.
And then go back down, and then we also saw quite a bit of Martin Kaut. What are your guys' takes on where those two are now? Now, obviously, Knyzhov had that terrible injury and has kind of been out for a while, right? He was a pretty big, promising player for us at one point. Where do you sit on him again, coming back after quite?
I mean, I wouldn't
a
sit
long
on him
time out.
because he'd get hurt.
Well, yeah. So damn literal over there. What was your actual read on him? I'd be curious since you have the
Knyzhov?
progressive definition of defenseman now. Yes, go.
I mean, look, okay, so I let me spell this. I think you and I talked about this last week, didn't we?
We did a little bit, yeah.
Look, so the progressive way to run your back pairs is to have a puck mover and somebody who is then the defensive anchor for the pairing, right? The guy who's in the right place and
you know how to piss Ben off right now, Colin. Do it.
Stay at home.
What to
Stay
say?
at home defenseman.
Yeah, stay at home defender. Like, I'm sorry, Paul Coffey's calling. This isn't modern thinking, buddy.
Go ahead. Sorry, Ben. I just had.
No, I'm not saying, but it is
Yes.
because teams don't fucking do it. So,
right, yeah. They think everyone has to do the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is not actually. You want to balance, but yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think Knyzhov was showing, when he first came up, that he's that kind of anchorish kind of guy. I don't think we had enough of a sample size to know whether he was, more than an average defenseman.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see that he's been able to work his way back to, playable. And I, what we've seen of him at the NHL level, as briefly as it was yeah, okay, great. He's still the same guy he was before, probably.
Yeah.
Those guys are not the valuable guys that you should be trying to develop, but if you've got them, that's great.
Right. The problem for him now is there's a logjam next season.
Yeah, there's
unless Carlson moves, in which case, backfilling Carlson with Knyzhov is not going to be 1-to-1, folks. But right now they're assuming that Thrun is just there, which based off of how much Quinn absolutely adores him, I would expect. There isn't quite a spot yet, so the Sharks would have to make a move. Maybe that's McDonald or someone else who's a little bit older. I don't think it'll be Vlasic, unfortunately, or Ferraro, but or Shemek. So really, it's Carlson, essentially. But yeah, I kind of had the same read too. I thought he looked fine, which is saying a lot considering how long he had missed.
Yeah.
It's a positive that he didn't look like he'd taken steps back.
Yep.
Because he could have come in and immediately collapsed. Okay, Kaut. I think we got enough of a look at Kaut, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's we had Kunin, then Kunin got hurt, and now we have Kaut.
Yeah, is that your total? Is that the total of your read there? We had him.
I feel like
now we've got no jobs.
Yeah, I feel like this Kaut feels to me like exactly the sort of player that Greer likes. Just that middling guy who can be sort of chippy but can also get to good spots. And like fourth lines need people.
I
We have a
think,
lot of them.
yeah, I think Count is a guy just in the sample size that we've seen. I know he's racking up some assists at the AHL level right now, but I think Count is one of those guys who he's not going to be anything special here. If you pair him with the right people, if you can find a line that he's got good chemistry with, then he might be, pretty consistent and pretty solid in that respect. But otherwise, he's going to be a guy that kind of floats up and down. Or if you're going to move him all over the place on the roster, I don't see him generating a ton for you. I think he's one of those guys where you got to figure out where you're going to put him and then keep him there. And I think the difficult thing is the Sharks have yet to have a coaching staff really in the last like 4 sets of coaches that operate that way. Quinn maybe a little bit more so than obviously the last couple who would just blend her within 2 seconds. I don't think he's the type of guy that goes anywhere in that kind of a situation. I don't think he's that malleable, I guess. But fine young guy. Probably not the future.
I mean, I think to the point is Cott was a guy who had some, as a younger player, had some like cachet as, oh, this guy could really turn into something, but he didn't with his prior team, and he doesn't look like he's going to here. That's my
yeah.
takeaway.
Well, the argument,
I don't know. I mean,
the argument with the other team, though, to be fair, was there was no. Granted, you need to prove that they can't ignore you, right? At the end of the day, you have to do that. But the feeling was also that there was a logjam there, and he wasn't going to get those opportunities. Now he's in a position where he should be able to get those opportunities.
Well,
in
not
theory.
counting the logjam that was created at the beginning of the season when a bunch of useless plugs were signed. So.
Yeah, right. But the Sharks are right now, they clearly don't know what they're still trying to figure out what they have. Yeah. So it is a better opportunity for him. Do I feel like he made the most of that opportunity so far? No.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel. I mean, the thing is, if he does continue to put up points at the AHL level, it's not like he's so old that you can't give him a little bit of time to figure shit out. But you'd kind of want to see him being, figuring those things out at the NHL level, in my opinion.
Ideally, yeah. But I would feel comfortable with him. I feel more comfortable with him being pulled up and pulled down than some of the ways that the Sharks have handled other players in the past, where it's been like, like, why are we bringing you up? You're not even potentially a future.
You mean
player.
like Agazino and Chris Coelho?
Yeah.
Agazino specifically. That's hey man, we're not going anywhere. We got an empty roster spot for a game. You earned a treat of skating around the rink.
Why though?
Not you've earned the opportunity. I don't know, but I feel like, but the difference is, but I guess what I'm saying is the difference is when they pull up Count or Eklund or whatever, they're specifically checking on long-term, they're measuring something here. Agazina's hey, employee of the month, slap on the back. Here's your $5 Amazon gift card. Thanks. You know what I mean? So
I know that's
at this point in the season. At this point in the season, given where the Sharks are, I don't particularly mind them doing that.
No, look, if we want them to lose, so fucking leave Agazino and Chris Coelho in the lineup and send the kids off to camp. That's fine. But
I think you're forgetting that they pulled Agazino up and he scored and got 2 assists in 4 games, right? So he's not exactly helping them lose.
It's demonstrate a plan is what I want, because if they had just left well enough alone and just tanked all the way into first and somehow managed to win a lottery, I could look back at the whole year and just be like, okay, weird way to go about it, but okay.
I actually think their plan is.
I don't know.
I think their plan is pretty clear to me. Not all the way through, but right now, 2023, you don't really have a ton of extra space unless you make some moves. But 2024, 2025, things open considerably. You got a lot of guys who will be off the books, and you will. That's sort of the first point where you are going to be in the position to make a significant change, primarily to your forward core, right? Because depending on what you do with the RFAs and UFAs here, you have a lot of space opening up, right? Because again, Johnson, unless you resign him, he'll be gone. LeBanc will be gone. Lindblom, you can get out of at that point. He's a UFA. Barabanov, depending on where he is at that point, you can let him walk if you need, or you can keep him. Lorentz. Again, you've got some RFAs you got to look at. So, right now, the Sharks, to me, it's pretty clear who they're looking at within their minor league roster or prospects. As far as the forwards and defensemen are concerned, it's pretty clear who they're looking at. And then the question is that, they don't really have a ton of space without making moves because, Ben, to your point and our point several times over the season, they sort of clogged the lineup there. But once you hit that 2024, 2025, that's when you can start to see a lot of those guys start to come in. And again, this is sort of assuming Erik Karlsson is gone as well, because I can't imagine he's still there at that point. If he is, then you don't necessarily have a ton of defensive spots. You will have opened at least 2 between McDonald and Shemek, assuming you didn't trade him by that point or do something else. So, we know they're looking at Bordeleau. We know they're looking at Kaut. We know they're looking at Eklund. We know they're looking at Gushin. We know we're obviously looking at Thrun. They've got a bunch of guys that they got in the Meyer trade that they're pretty hot on, specifically on defense. So, really, I think the area that isn't particularly clear right now to me is what they're doing in terms of goaltending. And that's only because I can't really get a read on what they think of their current prospects in that department. Obviously, I don't think they re-sign Reimer, having nothing to do with the gay pride thing at all. Just, it doesn't make any sense at this point to bring him back. You have Capo, who's 26, and you've got him for another season. So, I think you're more likely to try to find another younger AB type guy who with potential to be a starter to pair him up with, or you can maybe bring up Mäkiniemi. I can't really get a read on their feelings on him, but I think their plan to me now is pretty clear. It's just a question of when can they actually get to it, and will it work out the way, obviously, that they're hoping. Will these players be ready, or will they have waited too long?
You're also making a ton of assumptions as you run through those changes that a right-thinking human being would make with this roster over the next 2 years.
Yes.
Which is that Mike Grier will make the decisions we think this team obviously should make. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know either. I think you are correct in one major and important area, which is that the team is giving looks to the guys we would give looks to.
Yes.
And kind of have to, I think, because they're, Bordeleau and Eklund are high value assets if they develop. They're also high value assets if you decide you need to. I mean, you're not going to get like a first rounder for either of them, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to rebuild through the draft, then you're not sure those guys are going to be the ones you want in 2 years, you need to know. You need to know that. You need to look at them at the NHL level. That's what it would have been valuable about having them up the full year.
Yeah. And you need to demonstrate to others that they are capable of being at the NHL level to an extent too. I mean, they're going to have their scouts at your AHL games, but it certainly looks better if you bring one up. If you bring Bordeleau up and Bordeleau is making a difference at the NHL level, even if you decide not to keep him, that's a plus.
So I'm, by the way, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form I think these guys are being played to move. I don't. I think the team has had a plan with these guys all year long, which is see what they are at the AHL level, whether we agree with that or not.
Yeah.
They've been, I think, clearly pleased with Eklund and Bordeleau and Gushin at the AHL level, and I think that's good because they should be.
Can I add one thing there? I don't think it has necessarily been see what they can do at the AHL level as much as it is, and they've said this, and I buy it based off of sort of seeing Eklund specifically, and they're not incorrect here, is that they felt that these players didn't have the dimension necessary for what the Sharks need them to be at the NHL level. Now their feeling was that we can focus on coaching that into them at the AHL level. And again, I think with Eklund, you've sort of seen, and he's talked about it as well, he's made shifts to his game to sort of make him a little bit more well-rounded versus where he was before, which was a little bit more potentially one-dimensional. Now, the question is, and this is where I think we disagree with the team. Our feeling is you probably could have helped them get that experience at the NHL versus AHL. They were probably looking at it from the perspective of, okay, well, it may be easier for us to have them focus on that and just that without real penalty here. And that's kind of that's their call to make. But I do look at these players, and I do think that like that's what they were trying to do. Whether they're successful or not, who knows? But their feeling was, okay, these guys, sure, there are hot prospects, air quotes there, but these guys are not enough yet for what we need. And hopefully we can get them there by 23, 24, which will really be, if you look at age, 2024 with where the Sharks organization is right now, again, is maybe going to be that sweet spot for these guys who are 21, at this point right now, right? 2021. So I think they have an idea of what they think that next core is. It's a question of getting them well-rounded enough to function that way. And then the next question is obviously, okay, well then what do you do with the supporting cast? Who is that supporting cast? And again, you hit 2024, 2025, and depending on what you've done with RFAs and UFAs, the only other forwards that are currently on the books are Hurdle, and Couture is going to be, but Couture's playing fine now, right when you don't want him to. So, that's the defense. It's always felt like, and I think we saw this with the trade deadline, the defense was the area where they felt like we are shit out of luck here. And they've obviously been working specifically to sort of stock and hoard some defensive prospects. And I'm sure they're going to do that again this draft. And again, so the only area for me that is sort of the not really sure what they're doing or thinking is the goaltender situation. And really, I don't think this year they were in a great position to do much anyway. So it's going to kind of come down to, do you pull do you believe enough in Makiniemi or, Mann or anyone else to kind of pull them into that backup role and AB maybe a little bit and ride Kähkönen? Or do you pull in, do you do what you were trying to do before with Kähkönen and Hill, right? Where you grab another, decent potential, at very least stable backup in theory, and just AB that until you get another year down the line and, hopefully have been able to figure out whether you want to restock your goaltending pipeline or what. But I don't know. The plan is starting to seem more and more clear to me whether I agree with the way they've gone about it or not. And will it work? I don't know. But I'll tell you this much. I'm excited for next season, and I'm excited for 2024, 2025, assuming that they actually go through with that stuff, because I want to see Gushchin. I want to see Eklund. I want to see Bordeleau. I don't want to see guys like, no offense, but Lindblom.
Look, Lindblom was a calculated risk that didn't pay off.
Absolutely.
Move on.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, that was fine at the time. Now I know. Don't need to see it anymore. Lorentz, nice guy. Don't need to see it anymore. Benning, don't really need to see it anymore.
Yep.
So,
well, you get 3 more years of Benning. So
yep.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
And that's the thing with your summary is the majority of things that Greer is going to have to wait for are things that he put himself in the position to wait for now.
Well,
so it's like, as Ben says, move on. Find some way to sell off some of these contracts that are just taking space and be done.
I just think that, it's a lot easier. I'll just put it plainly. It's a lot easier for me to care about things and care about players in this situation when I feel like there may be future potential. Even may. Doesn't have to think like absolutely. And I think that's what's tough right now. In a normal season where the Sharks are doing well, I'm kind of looking at everyone and go, yeah, maybe there's some players I like more or less, but like, I'm not necessarily bothered. But here I'm like, you're not the future. You need to get out of here. Period. I have no interest in watching you play because there's no point in me rooting for you. Like, not to be a jerk,
exactly.
But there's no value to it. Hey, we had some games.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Colin.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Colin. What are you going to say?
Well, no, I was going to say this roster I can't think of a roster that I've been less invested in than this one.
It's been come on, let's all be clear here. It's been a very long time since the Sharks have been this fucking bad. So yeah, I mean, what's there to be invested in this roster?
Yeah,
Sure.
not a whole lot.
So we had some games apparently.
We did have some games apparently. The Sharks decided to go on a effing win streak this week because they weren't satisfied with being last and having high lottery odds. In fact, not only are they no longer last, but they managed to get into last place because Columbus and Chicago were winning for some reason, but they've actually pulled them all the way up to 29th place. So they're fourth from last, which is
real bad.
It's not really what you want. And I know it sucks to root for the team losing, but honestly, it would be better for everyone. The Sharks beat the Jets. Noah Gregor opened scoring in the first period with an assist from Peterson and Zetterlund. And then, well, nothing happened in the second. And then the third, Quinn's favorite player, Kevin Labanc, would score. And then Martin Kaut would score. I will say the fun thing about Martin Kaut scoring here is that, Hurdle got the assist. And these are two guys that know each other and have trained with each other. That's kind of nice. Any thoughts on this game in particular? Reimer, by the way, was in goal this game, and he did play a really
playoff goaltending from a guy playing on a team that's like, no, why? That's an amazing paddle save, but stop it.
I would. He wouldn't say this, but I would suggest he was attempting to redeem himself play wise. As far as the situation that had occurred last week. If you're going to do that, listen,
stop the puck good.
What I'm saying, if you're going to do that and you know it's going to be a shitstorm when you get back to the fans, better be playing out of your minds.
Yeah.
Ben, I know you haven't had a thought in the game in a long time. Did you have any thoughts on this game?
Stop winning games, assholes.
But this is what I've been saying all season, though, is Reimer will just occasionally play really, really well and will basically steal us a game. It's just normally our scoring isn't there. Normally it's just this really, grind fest 0-0 game that we lose in overtime. But no, we also had Gregor going on a tear.
There's been a lot of 2-2s, 3-3s.
Yeah.
You haven't heard a lot of the 2 or fewer bullshit because
that's true.
Here's the problem with this week. They beat playoff teams that you would hope they would have lost to. Yeah. I would expect them to beat, Columbus and then lose to the Golden Knights, which was the next game. And they couldn't even do that. So the Sharks ended up beating the Golden Knights. Look, I will say this. I do enjoy beating the Golden Knights. Again, not this exact situation.
True.
And the Sharks actually did quite a lot right this game. Their face-off percentage was awesome. They got goals from Mario Ferraro with an assist from Thrun, right away, 4 minutes into Thrun's playtime. And Borlo got an assist on that too. Lindblom would score. And again, Thrun had an assist there. So Thrun gets 2 assists in the first. I'm sure you haven't heard enough about that. Vegas would score. And then Vegas would score again in the second. And then Hurdle would score in the second, again, with an assist from Kaut. See, those guys seem to have some rhythm with each other. And then Vegas would score to tie it up. And you were like, yes, here we go. Perfect game, right? Perfect game. Thrun comes out, looks good. Gets 2 points. Borlo comes out. He gets a point. Now they're going to lose, and everything's going to be. That's exactly what you wanted out of that performance. But unfortunately, Logan Couture would score in overtime. The Sharks wound up winning. This is another game with Reimer net, by the way. What were you going to say, Colin?
Well, the thing I really liked with this week's of games, I like it just for Sharks history, is our defense not going into a starfish anytime there's any sort of odd man rush or counterattack. It was really weird. It's like the other team counterattacks and the defender stays on their feet and they're able to get the puck and redistribute. It's refreshing and nice to see.
Let me ask a question for Ben specifically. Ben, and it doesn't have to do with this game. I was just sort of looking, going back through the points and stuff.
Yeah.
What's your read on Zetterlund so far?
Meh. Just meh.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fine.
They need more. They need more.
Yeah, He's not a guy that you're going to hope is going to be contributing. I think in 2 years.
Like,
Yeah.
I wonder
because I don't think he
if-
will be contributing in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if Greer could just go and just make a bunch of copies of Tommy Wingles if he would just make an entire Sharks team of Tommy Wingles.
You know, Tommy Wingles at his peak. If you had 12 Tommy Wingles on your team, you would be solidly in like 9th place.
All
But
right.
think of all the missed checks in the corners.
All right, I'm sorry I opened up this discussion. The Sharks would take on the Coyotes. This is probably one of the first times I've yelled at my TV in a while because I had to go put my son to bed. And when I came back, it was 3-0 in the first, and I was mad. Gregor scored the first goal almost right away with an assist from Sturm. Then Jacob Peterson scored, and then Chris Cuolo scored. So it's 3-0. Then Moser would score for Arizona. Then Gushin scored, and it was like, yay, wait, stop, please. And then Gregor would score in the third, and then Couture would score. And then Gregor's like, screw it, I'm going to get a hat trick because Bordeleau's somewhere in the vicinity.
He
And
missed
then
his
the Sharks-
friend, Alex.
I know, clearly. And the Sharks, win by a score of 7-2, which
God.
that I don't know why, but that score made me angry, especially playing against a team that, you're not. I don't think they're going to catch up to us. And it's so funny saying catch up because I mean catch up going the other direction, catch down, I guess. But I don't know, a little frustrating. So the Sharks end up winning all 3 games this week. They're on a little bit of a streak now. Hopefully that streak gets shut down a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But first, we got to get to our 3 stars, Ben's favorite segment. So, Colin, you go first because you haven't been able to do the 3 stars first in a while. Who are your 3 stars of the week?
I guess I gotta give Thrun the 3rd star because just nice to have somebody step into our defensive core and do the job well without any sort of scandal.
Yeah.
Carlson, because he's back on the track to 100 points, which yay. I mean, I guess. And then Gregor for hat trick.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do mine, Ben, so you have some time to think. I'm gonna give honorary stars to Chris Cuolo and Peterson just for getting their first goals. My actual 3rd star is going to be. Oh, sorry. Ooh, this is a hard one. So my 3rd star, I'm gonna make it a tie here. I'm gonna give it to Gushin, and then I'm gonna give it to Bordeleau for osmosis.
Yeah.
My 2nd star, I'm gonna give to Thrun only because for his situation specifically, that was a hell of a first game and a pretty good second game as well. And then my 3rd star, partially due to osmosis, so hovering in the star assist area is Bordeleau for no reason. I think I have to give to Gregor just simply for getting a hat trick, especially, Gregor's a guy who I like Gregor's game quite a bit, but boy, someone's got to recalibrate his shooting because it just feels like he thinks he's shooting straight, and it turns out it's about 4 feet to the left. So, Gregor for me is a guy that, like, if you can get him going, could be good. But he's just like the finishing with Gregor this season has just not been there.
His career, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Like he has
I
Christian
know.
Ehrhoff disease, except as a forward, which is insane.
I know, man. Yeah, great reference. Love it. Go ahead, Ben. Your 3 stars.
It's so Bordeleau 3rd, just by osmosis and the impact he has on specifically Noah Gregor. Thrun, 2nd star, and 1st star is it has to be the guy who got the hat trick and has had trouble scoring all year, Noah Gregor.
Yeah, boy, to go from 0 to hat trick, right? Like he basically.
I mean, also remember he had a goal earlier in the week too, so it was just.
I know, but he was 2 goals before that. Now he's 6 after 3 games. So
ruining the tank, one hat trick at a time.
Yep.
Sharks can't do it. Well, let's talk about that because the Sharks right now, where are they? They're 29th with 59 points. Below them at 30th with 56 points is Anaheim. And then a game behind both those teams at 54 is Columbus. And then last, also in 54, but a game up is Chicago. That's why Chicago's last, because even though they're tied, they've played 1 more game. So they're doing worse. Above the Sharks, well, It's about a several point delta there. You have Montreal, who's sitting at 66. Now, you're probably wondering, Alex, why aren't you doing it by division? Who gives a crap? We care about where the Sharks are at the bottom of the league. But if you needed to know where they're in the division, Anaheim is below them and Vancouver's above them with 75. So the good news is unlikely the Sharks will catch up to Vancouver. Now, the Sharks.
Knock on wood.
Right, exactly. Now, the Sharks do have some more opportunities to get this tank back on track. They play Colorado twice this week, Tuesday at home and Thursday at home, and then Saturday. And let me ask you this: why does the NHL feel the need to have the Sharks always travel for back-to-back? So they have Colorado here too next. Just put those ones back-to-back, and don't make them do this travel thing they're going to do next week, which is essentially back-to-back between Calgary and Edmonton. Not that those are terribly. It's not like the travel nightmare or anything like that, but still, they're right there. They're right there, guys. So Sharks 3 games at home this week. Colorado, and Edmonton. There are a total of 6 games left, and then we are free from the shackles of this season. In fact, actually, guys, it seems like our next podcast, it may be an opportunity to be an end of the season podcast. Maybe we save that one for 200. We'll see if anything noteworthy happens this week. What were we going to say, Colin?
So, what do we just save it to be the lottery day so we can either be really happy or really sad?
We gotta wait. When's the lottery pull again? Do you guys know off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, it's a while.
No, well, yeah, but we should. That'd be great. We get like some New Year's Eve top hats and all that kind of stuff, and some the little kazoos. All right. Well, listen, that's for the Sharks. That concludes another week of Sharks hockey. You can check us, Ben, out on Twitter at Circling the Cup. You can check us out on Facebook. It's Facebook/Circling the Cup. And again, we don't really Facebook.com/Circling the Cup. We don't really use it, but we do check it. So if you have a question, please write in. You can always write it, by the way. You can check us out on our Discord. Maybe Ben will be nice enough to repost the link there. Sure. Been a little quieter this season only because, well, I don't think anyone's watching these things live. And of course, you can check us out on the web at circlingthecup.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on the Apple Podcast app. 5 stars. You can rate it 5 stars. You can't rate it 4 or below. It's so weird. Only 5 stars. Crazy, right? 5 stars. Hopefully that sunk in. And
well,
Android
we
people
are about to get flooded with 1 stars. Thanks.
Hey, that's okay. And then you know what? If at least write something funny if you do that. We do have one low rating that says people thought they were listening to a therapy session, which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah, that's kind of what this podcast is for some Sharks fans, us included. And of course, Android people, you got Spotify or work it out yourself. I'm not even going to bother learning at this point. Well, that concludes, again, this week's Sharks podcast. I'm looking forward to Noah Gregor getting 15 goals next week, thanks to some osmosis from Bordelot. I don't know about you guys, but why don't you just say bye-bye? But you got to do it in a short amount of time here.
Tank hard for Bedard.
Oh, but they're not, though. You can't even say that anymore.
Tank.
Bye-bye.
Though Carlson would fit Greer's profile better.
Bye-bye. That was fun. I got to go to a play.
All right.
So listen, so 200th podcast, just for a second here. I know you don't care, but that's kind of a cool number. Do you so the only minor complication that I have, are you still recording right now, Ben?
Oh, let me I was, yeah, but I can stop.